On January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, Martin Luther King Jr. was born to Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. and a schoolteacher named Alberta Williams King. Martin Luther King Jr. had two other siblings. His older sister was Willie Christine, and his younger brother was Alfred Daniel. He graduated high school at the age of 15 and then went to Morehouse College, where he got his BA in sociology. He would then go on to receive a degree from Crozer Theological and then enroll in Boston University's PhD program, which he'd receive in 1955. In 1953, King married a New England Conservatory music student named Coretta Scott. They eventually had 4 children. When Coretta married King, she reluctantly had to give up her musical career. However, through the years, she stood proudly by her husband and supported him. But just because she supported her husband didn't mean she always agreed with him. As things got more and more dangerous for King, Coretta would get upset with him for putting himself in danger. King was a family man through and through. He loved his wife and children and tried his hardest to be there for them. He also tried to keep his work and home life separate, but often found this to be near impossible. At the end of the day, with all the important work that King did, his family was still one of the most important and precious things in the world to him. King not only felt a sense of duty towards his family, but also his community. This sense of duty was one of the main reasons he became involved in the civil rights movement. One of his first major works of activism was working with the Freedom Riders in the bus boycott situation. In December of 1955, Martin Luther King Jr. became president of the Montgomery Improvement Association, which was organized due to protest against the incident involving Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott. In December of 1956, the buses would be desegregated, and King would solidify his role as the civil rights leader. King's job was very dangerous. People attempted to bomb his home and even succeeded at one point. A woman stabbed him at a book signing, and yet he still continued on. As a civil rights leader, King was arrested many times. He was arrested for trespassing, picketing, protesting, and leading sit-ins. In 1963, while in a Birmingham cell, Dr. King wrote about his concerns on the pace of justice and civil rights for Black Americans in his Letter from a Birmingham Jail. This letter was one of his most famous. These arrests were not a hindrance for Dr. King, and instead allowed him to remain as a loud voice in the African American community for change. He became such a figure for the civil rights movement that he met with influential people. On August 28, 1961, Martin Luther King met with President John F. Kennedy and afterwards delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Because of his contributions to the civil rights movement, on December 10, 1964, Martin Luther King became the youngest person to receive the Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo, Norway, for his efforts to end segregation and racial discrimination through nonviolent means. It was these efforts that would ultimately end King's life. April 4, 1967, while standing on the balcony of his room at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot and killed. People across the nation were devastated, and on April 9th, his funeral was held at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. More than 300 people marched through Atlanta with his mule-drawn coffin. Today, we still continue to celebrate and commemorate all the things Dr. King did for the African American community. His work helped bring a new way of thinking and tolerance to many, and helped earn the rights African Americans so deserved.